Hi, and welcome to another episode of Pennsylvania Voter Information Network. This is Larry DeMarco. Today we have the footage of Tariq El-Shabazz. Tariq was in practice for 30 years. 5 years he practiced as an assistant district attorney. Then for 20 years he was a defense attorney. And then the last 7 months he was the deputy of the district attorney's special investigations unit. In his time there, he noticed that the DA has abysmal diversity within the office, and that it's not reflective of the community in which it serves. He believes that it could be corrected by better recruitment efforts. As the only ethnic minority candidate, he believes that he brings a perspective that no other candidate has. He gave comments about the disconnect between police and the public and the need for better community relationships between the two.
Mr. Shabazz?
I would agree with Judge Denai, but I would go further. We understand that Philadelphia is a sanctuary city. We want to recognize that. And in recognizing that, we want to use the discretion, but only the discretion that the district attorney has. Don't have the discretion to ignore the law, and we won't do that. But we do have the discretion as to whether or not to report certain information based upon a person being a witness, or based upon a person being accused of something, or based upon a person being a person of interest. I do concur that, in fact, we absolutely have to take those individuals that may have been convicted of violent offenses, and we will give that information the way that information is appropriate. I also concur that we have to take those individuals that are the gross neglectors of our community by poisoning our community with bringing in drugs, and we convict them of that, giving that information as well, so those individuals can be handled appropriately with respect to immigration. But I do submit to you at this particular time, my administration will not use the threat of immigration as a pattern to pressure someone to be a witness, or the pattern to pressure someone to take a daggone deal in a particular case. That's inappropriate, it's not responsible, it's unethical, and it will not happen under my administration.
Thank you, Mr. Shabazz. Mr. Shabazz?
It is interesting to say that we're in an opioid epidemic similar to the crack epidemic, but nobody was talking about crack the way that we're talking about opioids right now, but we understand that. And it is interesting to say that houses are being used, and those houses are used sometimes to house the sale and the manufacturing and the packaging of narcotics, and that is a danger to the community. That is absolutely part of the issue. But the bigger part of the issue is at what point do we try to take someone's house? Everyone has said, and I would agree with, that first it has to be a conviction. Everyone has said, and I would agree with, we have to have a nexus, a connection between that home and the illegal action. The fact that actions were sold out of that home and the home wasn't really used because it's an innocent grandmother should not bring that house into play. The fact that we can freeze assets, that is, we can freeze cars, that is, over cars, we can freeze the money until the outcome of the case is something that's very important. But we also should be able to show that nexus between the money. And I agree with Mr. Krasner again, it's not going to be a lot of times, but I agree this time, that the nexus as to that money, that particular amount of money being due is money that was earned illegally. Why do I say that? An example of a man who works on a job and he sells some narcotics. He has his paycheck in his pocket and his pay stub. He also has some money in his pocket that came from selling illegal narcotics. You're able to determine that based on his pay stub, he got paid that day, that that's his money. That shouldn't be forfeited. But if there's $500, and I will take $500, that is the result of illegal drug sale, it should be taken. That takes investigation, it takes time, it takes consideration, it takes caring, and it takes discretion. And I'll have that. I have it now, and I'll have it then.
Thank you, Mr. Shabazz.
You know, it's interesting to hear these ideas of sitting down with Ms. Bluestein, and I'm going to join the Bluestein bandwagon, because I've sat down with Ms. Bluestein in a brief stint that I was in the DA's office as the first assistant. And it also is interesting to hear people talk about if you were involved in government somehow, you don't have a clear idea, but I submit to you that 2 decades as a defense attorney and 5 years and 7 months as a prosecutor gives you a well-rounded view. But I will say this, before we get to conviction review, I will agree with Ms. Grossman that we should basically look at investigation. What is the extent of the investigation of particular crimes? Why don't we stop it before it gets there? And we can. There have been cases in the office, and I submit to you as recently as 4 months ago. Time is strange when you're on the campaign trail. 4 months ago, when in fact homicides, 2 in fact, were looked at, and it was investigated based upon being brought by a defense attorney, and after we seen the evidence in which I was involved in, that individual was released and a new investigation occurred. That's how we stem it. But do we look at conviction review and we say that we just need more people and we need more training? The reality of it is that the district attorney's office has been systemically broken for a long time. So someone to say we're going to go in there and all of a sudden make it right, you're not going to make a ship turn on an axle, you turn it very slowly. What we have to do, and I agree with Mr. Krasner on this one, and we agree on several things, but I agree with this, you have to bring people in from the outside. You have to have people with common experience. You have to have people with defense experience. You have to have people that are not lifelong prosecutors looking at a case because they look at it with jaded views, just like anybody else would look at anything. And this is my time, so I have to stop.
You heard that, folks? No, stop. Mr. Shabazz.
With respect to marijuana, of course. With respect to petty offenses and other drugs, I think de facto, I have to disagree with my colleague, Mr. Khan, that there are things that the district attorney can do, even with laws on the book. It's called discretion. You can devise a program called the pre-arrest program. That pre-arrest program will deal with petty offenses. Let me begin there. Why? Because the majority of our petty offenses are related to mental health, drug, alcohol addiction, homelessness, economic disability, economic disability. In order to deal with those things, we need to have counseling that is available, not just drug and alcohol counseling, but employment counseling, social services that are available. And we set up programs. Allow individuals to complete these particular programs when they are going to be arrested, pre-being processed. Why do I say that? If you get in the diversion program after you in fact are processed, what you have to do is get an expungement. Now, I don't care what anyone else is saying, we're in a room with a lot of lawyers. At the end of the day, expungement means I promise not to look. Doesn't mean that it disappeared. But in order to remove that scarlet letter, we don't give them one at all. And if they complete it, we continue to go forward without the scarlet letter. But we have to be mindful. That means that if there's an addiction, somebody's going to fail the test one day. They can't get kicked out of the diversionary program because they failed the test for which they were addicted. It takes 2 times, 3 times, maybe 4 times. We can do it that way. And I would do that with other drugs that are possessory offenses. Because if you're an addict, whether you're addicted to a little bit of marijuana or to cocaine or to opioids, you should be treated. It's a health disease. What my response was. I think that at this time it's really premature to do that. It takes fantastic vetting in order to have an appropriate person to do that.
Too premature.
Mr. Shabazz.
What concerns me about even talking about mandatory minimums is that it was mandatory minimums that has us in the condition that we're in at this particular point. Precisely why Mr. Khan indicated that he wanted people to be treated equally is one of the reasons why we can't have mandatory minimums. The bottom line is we need to look at what each individual case is. You can take somebody who's been arrested 3 times for guns and you can give them an appropriate sentence. You don't need a mandatory minimum to do that. You can take somebody who's a sexual predator and give them an appropriate sentence. You don't need a mandatory minimum to do that. You can take someone who in fact has a large amount of drugs and give them an appropriate sentence, and you don't need a mandatory minimum to do it. What you need is good judges. You need individuals that in fact understand the law, understand the facts, and based on their experiences they can institute a sentence that is appropriate under the facts and under the law. You need individuals to, in fact, as prosecutors, to argue that and to put that forward with a sentencing memorandum and information that gives a judge the totality of the circumstances that are appropriate so that the sentence can be had. I am concerned anytime we start talking about this sliding scale, because the sliding scale, real talk, folks, affects people that look like me, more so than it affects people that don't look like me. And that's not with red beard, just in case people say red beard. But at the end of the day, what we have to do is end up trusting our judiciary, which means that we have to really think on who we vote for to be judges and give them the opportunity to use that experience.
Mr. Shabazz.
This starts from diversity, folks. At the end of the day, if you're going to send somebody into West Philadelphia, North Philadelphia, Southwest Philadelphia, South Philadelphia, you should send somebody in there that can communicate with the people in the community. Somebody that they can trust, somebody that can relate to their experience, someone that knows that that individual may not want to come to court because their little sister plays with the other individual that's by the side. But we also got to be real. The reality of it is that the district attorney's office has been doing and has stopped doing in 7 months, arresting people and holding them in a holding cell that are witnesses because that individual is afraid to come to court. Well, what do you think that does to the community? That scares everybody else in the community that may be a victim from coming forward, and it scares everybody else in the community that may be a witness from coming forward and testifying because you're going to kick down their door and force them to come, and then once they testify, you let them out there. That's a lack of trust. That's a lack of integrity. That's a lack of diversity. Diversity will allow us to have communication with people in a language that they understand from an experience that they have.
Mr. Shabazz.
One of the hardest things to do is to win a corruption case in Philadelphia County, and it's that difficult as we've seen it. I think around the country, you've seen videos after videos and people are being acquitted. It doesn't mean that you don't do it. And it's based upon the lack of trust, the lack of relationship that people have with people in law enforcement, but more importantly, what law enforcement has with the community. And in order to regain that particular integrity of the office, in order to regain that particular position that the district attorney should have, we have to begin to stand up, to face them, and to prosecute them when appropriate. We also have to understand on the flip side that we need our police officers. We need it for public safety and protection. So we have to begin to rebuild bridges. We can do that. We can do that specifically with the type of commissioner that we have with Commissioner Ross. Someone who's already been doing some innovative things in the police department, trying to stem out the corrupt police officers there. But we also have to look at, and I'm a union man, I don't have a problem with union, but the FOP is a real piece of work. I'm sorry, I had to stop at the real piece of work.
Thank you. Mr. Shabazz.
All right, thank you.
One of the things that I think distinguishes me as a candidate for the district attorney's office is the experience that I was born with. See, no one had to tell me about being stopped and frisked. I was stopped and frisked. No one had to tell me what the results were from running from a police officer. If I was slow, I got caught, and I knew what the results were. No one had to tell me about my friend or my brother being killed in front of me because I actually observed that. No one had to tell me about somebody being falsely accused because I observed that as well. But I've also been blessed to work with people in the community, and based upon those organizations that I work with, I was able to complete high school, complete college, go to law school, and then graduate. And then my first 5 years as a graduate of a law degree. With a law degree, I worked under the Ron Castile administration in Philadelphia at the DA's office. For 2 decades, I then worked as a defense attorney. And then I went back approximately 7 months ago, or 8 months ago, in which I spent time as the first assistant district attorney, where I examined and I learned what actually it took to run that particular office. So when you talk about a well-rounded view, I submit to you, I have that well-rounded view. That from a trial experience. I often say when people talk about management skills that I'm not a baker. You can't put me in front of a bakery and then tell me to manage the bakery. There's some things I can talk about, but if I don't know how to cook a cake, why the hell am I managing the bakery? So you need somebody, I submit to you, that trial experience. You can't teach somebody how to try a case if you never tried the case. You can't teach people to have discretion when you never use discretion. You can't tell people about what you did when you really can't show what you did. I think the experience allows me to do the things that are necessary for clear, concise, common sense reform.
Thank you, Mr. Shabazz.